This is the Not So Korean podcast with Jay and Tim. I am Jason Verney.
And this is Timothy Ohm.
In this podcast series, we talk to one another and sometimes with special guests about what we know about Korea,
What we don't know about Korea,
what we want to know about Korea,
and occasionally what we don't want to know about Korea.
As you probably know, and as we always say, we usually record this live in UK's Koreatown itself. That's an area in and around New Malden. Yes, that's the largest Koreatown and Korean community in Europe.
Right.
By the way, you love Return to Seoul, yeah?
Oh yeah, it's an amazing movie. I mean, I wasn't sure. I mean, I thought it would be interesting, but because the director is, I think he's Cambodian or something.
Well, he's
French Cambodian or something.
Yeah, I've got to post my pictures. I've got a selfie with him, and
Really? Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
and as well. I spoke to him afterwards, and he said, but yes.
So you mean he knew like an adoptee who was an arms dealer in Korea for real?
Yeah, this is all based on one. This is all based on a story about one girl mainly. So
Okay.
there's two Q&A snippets on my YouTube channel as well about.
Right.
But you don't have. I don't.
No. Well, so anyway, I was just going to say that. So when I went to see it, I was thinking, well, this is so technically it's not really a Korean film. So I wasn't sure, like, is it going to be as accomplished as some of the Korean films are, or is it going to feel like a very low budget kind of thing? But it's very accomplished film.
Yeah.
And the main performance is just amazing. It's amazing that it's her first. It's her first film.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I spoke to her. But and then of course there's that great dance scene. She does that dance.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that underworld clubby thing was a bit, like.
I've actually been to that place. Yeah, I've been there.
Was it the same name as what they called it in the film then?
I think so. I can't remember what they said in the film, but probably. Yeah.
Yeah, because I did wonder because. Okay. Sorry. Biane. You might be wondering why the intro was interrupted and you heard Jay and Tim discussing a certain film. It was almost like we were appearing as guests on our own show. There is a couple of reasons for that. And speaking of guests, one of the reasons is to mention that the next episode will feature a guest. So we are not only returning to a certain film that myself and Tim have discussed, we're returning to the old style episodes where we have interviews, guests, and this one is a special guest in the fact that she has a connection to adoption and the film. Well, we discussed the film Return to Seoul, which is what you just heard myself and Tim discussing. I will tell you more about the guest in a second. Basically, myself and Tim discussed a few films several months ago, including Return to Seoul. We had both seen it in different festivals, one in Korea and one in the UK. And we discussed other films as well. So those brief snippets you heard are just sort of highlights of the conversation, or just random snippets where we were speaking about Return to Seoul. Or to give it its French title, it's I won't give this title any justice, but I won't do it any justice. It's Retour à Seoul. But we were discussing that, and it's now on general release. Well, it's now being released in various countries, including the UK. And as I record this, as we get this podcast out, it's being released. It's released in the UK. It's still at this very moment showing in a few cinemas. Not least, it's showing in the BFI South Bank, that marvellous place. And there's still a couple of screenings this week, and there's perhaps other screenings going on throughout the country in the UK. And so it seemed fitting that this guest, whose name is Aline, again, I can't do the French impression or the French accent, but she is a Korean-born French adoptee. We have a long conversation regarding the film Return to Seoul. So that's going to be in episode 30, and it could be that it's a long interview, so it could be it's a two-parter. So Return to Seoul. Now, if you haven't heard about that film, and I don't want to say that you must see it, but it is an important film. It's a very entertaining film. It's a very I would say, emotional film, a very powerful film by a Cambodian French director called Davy Shu, and the actress Park Jimin Park. But not only is it getting the release in the UK, it's then going to be on a few weeks later, I believe, it's going to be on Mubi. And Mubi are kind of distributing it in the UK and perhaps other places. So I'm really happy that it's getting a release. I saw it in Busan International Film Festival last year, and it's just such a powerful film about someone who, let's say, is whether it's intentional or unintentional, finding her roots regard to her Korean heritage, even though she will identify, the character will probably identify as French. It's interesting to note that the actress, I don't want to give too much away till we speak about it, but the actress is an artist and hadn't actually done any acting before. This was her first time. This is her first role. I actually met her and Davy Shu in Busan. We had a chat. There is also, as you might have heard mentioned on my YouTube channel, the Q&A from Busan, most of it recorded. So this film, it's highly recommended by me and Tim, by Jay and Tim. We highly recommend this film. It's very powerful. I would say it's an independent film. It's doing very well in the festivals with awards, and it's just it deals with a subject matter that I'm very close to, or have been for the last decade or so. Korean adoptees. There's so many of them who, for whatever reason, were taken from or sent from their country of South Korea, or Korea, let's just say, to different countries. So I sat down to speak to Aline. I'm sure she would correct that pronunciation. I sit down to talk with an adoptee about the film, to give us her view, her reaction maybe, or her review, and how it perhaps affected her and could affect other adoptees, and how accurate it could be, or the feelings portrayed. It's got a brilliant soundtrack. It's just very well made. It's a pretty amazing film. Again, we wouldn't like to say you must see this film, because it's kind of film, like many art forms, is many things in life, is subjective. It's what you take away from it, or it's how you enjoy it. And I went in not knowing too much, and I loved it. That's my opinion. As I say, lots of people in not just the Korean cineast community in the UK and throughout the world, they are sort of giving it good reviews, from what I've read. But it's not just for Korean cineasts, it's a film for anybody, and it's different. It doesn't follow the structure, narrative of a film. There's parts of the film that you think, the film itself is based, well, I'd say loosely, but it's based quite heavily on some true events, but it does it in a way that's it's just unique. Of course it's unique, but it's done in such a way that there's even parts in the film which you think, oh, that's not going to happen, that didn't really happen, but then you might find out later on that actually that is what really happened in the, let's say, life story of the character it's based on. So this episode is just a short one to explain. The next episode will be an interview with Aline regarding Return to Seoul, and it's a very important interview because, as I say, she is a Korean-born French adoptee, so there are other adoptees in other countries, including the UK. I know some of those, and it's the French-Korean connection, Korean-French connection, and of course, let's not forget the English. I mean, the title is in English, but it's translated from French. The languages in the film it's a multilingual film in many parts of it, and it's very, I don't want to give too much away, but thanks to Mubi UK, and of course the filmmakers themselves, it's got a release in the UK, and I know that some friends of mine have seen it, and friends of ours, myself and Tim, have seen it, and I haven't heard back from everybody, I've seen it on social media that it's, you know, various people we know have been to see it. I will say one more thing, which is you would have heard at the very beginning. If you go to my Instagram, which is Jason Verney, so it's J and then Asian, so it's Jason Verney, you will see actually I put some words about the film a few posts ago as a selfie, as a picture with myself, the director, a newfound friend, and also Jimin Park, the actress in the film. So there's more information there as well. I really hope people see the film. Myself and Tim, you know, of course, we hope that people will listen to the interview, which is going to be in the next, well, at least starting in the next episode of the Not So Korean podcast. So please tune in for that. Yeah, I'm really proud to present the interview because it means a lot to me and the cause, and also it means a lot to the person in the interview and people that will resonate with the film or the way perhaps adoption is portrayed. So that's it, and we will see you in that episode. Thank you. 안녕히 계세요.